Well guys, we are wrapping it up, unfortunately, with the 2023 Nissan Z. This has been a really cool experience to have the pre-production car basically at my house. I've filmed 15 videos. This is the 15th video. I hope you guys really have enjoyed my perspective of this car. I feel like on YouTube, of everybody who has had access to this car, I'm probably the most well-rounded person to really talk about this. I've owned two 370Zs. I've owned the Toyota Supra for 2 years. I currently own an R35. I've been working on buying this car for the last year with my dealership. So I have a lot of seat time in these cars, a lot of, I guess, enthusiasm over Nissan Z cars. And it's been an awesome experience. I really can't thank Nissan enough for allowing this opportunity. So this is a pre-production car. It will be interesting to see what, if anything, is going to be different. The interior refinements honestly seem pretty good. I don't really see like there needs to be much to change. Everything has been a really nice thing to use. It's been a nice place to be. Only thing I could see maybe Nissan making some changes is give us a little bit stiffer padding in these seats. On the mountain roads, when you're kind of bouncing in the car a little bit, I feel like I sink too far and I can feel the springs underneath. That only happened the one road, so maybe that's not too major. Normal driving, I haven't noticed anything that I didn't really like about it. It's been comfortable and normal. And honestly, there's been a ton of things with the Z that I like, just little nitpicky things that are benefits. So one of them is the buttons on the steering wheel. So I don't like touchscreen buttons, but I think they look good. As you can see, they look like touchscreen buttons. However, they're real plastic buttons that you have to press. If you adjust the volume, you actually press it and you can see how it changes. And then same with all these other icons. I really like just that aspect of it. And yet it's not touchscreen. If they're touchscreen, so many times your hand will accidentally press it, and then you're changing something in your car, which is crazy. So I like that little touch. The storage behind the seats, I've already mentioned. I love that aspect. 370s had it. I think the 350s may have had it. And it's just a really, really good blend. And another thing, I like the power. You know, I was doing 0 to 60 times the other day, and I got this down to 4.17 seconds. That was the quickest time I got. So we're talking under 4.25. The Supra's like 3.8, I believe. So it's not really that much slower. You're not really gonna notice the biggest difference. You can kind of tell the down-low torque isn't quite as much, but my favorite aspect is just how smooth the power is. So we'll do a little bit of acceleration like you already saw, but it just pulls really easily. We'll do from second gear. It's just so smooth the way the power is. Now, the 9-speed automatic transmission isn't my favorite. There is a little bit of a delay between shifts. The ZF 8-speed, as soon as you hit the pedal, you've shifted. This one, it seems like there's like a 200 RPM delay. We got a red light, so we'll do another acceleration. So I've noticed sometimes I'll hit the rev limiter in this car. I did that the first clip you saw in this video. That was me hitting the rev limiter. So it's a little bit harder to gauge when to shift, even though you have these shift lights. So if we drop it again, we'll go into first gear. So hopefully you can see my hand as well. So right there, you should have been able to see that. Just a little bit of a delay. It's just you're gonna notice that if you're used to dual clutch transmissions or the ZF. I'm gonna be buying this in a manual for sure, because that is just the true enthusiast transmission. But I think people buying this in an automatic probably don't really mind it not being perfection. It's a pretty good automatic, I'm not gonna lie. One of the better ones out there, just the ZF 8-speed is of course the best out there, and a dual clutch is even better than that. Along with the transmission, if you go into sport mode, it does sharpen it up a little bit. I mean, that's 40 to 75. This thing is just so... Wow, in sport mode when you are in automatic, that's the biggest thing you're gonna notice that sport mode does. It definitely is a lot more performance focused, which is a cool touch. However, that's the only thing I really noticed with the sport mode. So the Z isn't one of those cars that has more of the fancy tech. It's a little bit more on the simple side. I'd say it's more the old school feeling, which kind of makes sense. You know, it's a lower price point than the competition, so I kind of get that. Another little thing about this car, nitpicky thing that I really found that I like, is the steering wheel. I think Nissan, I already said about the buttons I like. The steering wheel is really good. It's a big step up from the 370s, and I know it has a little bit of GTR inspiration, but the thing I like about it, this might sound weird, 3-spoke steering wheels are of course what every sports car has. That's the cool thing to do apparently. The thing I don't like about a lot of 3-spokes are you can't really put your hand on the bottom. What I love is this cutout in the center right here. As you can see, I've noticed I've driven like this. Just put my hand on the bottom of the wheel. If I'm just comfortably cruising on the highway, that is the most comfortable way to drive the car. Just so comfortable, sit back, relax, have the radar cruise control on, and literally just enjoy driving. I've noticed I drive like that a lot in this car. If I'm just cruising, that has been a cool touch. I've never been in a 3-spoke steering wheel car that has that type of cool feature. You know, my GTR, it's all solid. The Supra's bottom is huge, so you're always up on the side. So if you are just driving one-handed, just kind of chilling, that's a cool little touch that I've noticed that I like. Other things that have surprised me with this car, so I didn't really quite know exactly what I was going to expect with the car getting it. I kind of figured it would feel like a 370Z, just newer. That is certainly what it is. It feels like a 370Z, however, we have a much nicer interior, the modern tech, the big screens, you know, the fun colors. And I was expecting it to feel a little cheaper on the inside than it does. I was expecting the Supra to feel like that super premium BMW version, and this to feel like just another Japanese sports car. This is way more refined and comfortable than I was expecting. The 370Z is a little noisy on the highway and just not the greatest GT car. I found this new Z is a really good GT sports car. It has that comfort and those refinements to where this is actually really smooth and comfortable to be in. Out on the highway, you can talk to your passengers. On a bumpy road like I am now, it's nice. Like, this is a much nicer car than the old car for sure. We have train tracks coming up, going 50 over them. I mean, it takes the bumps nicely and it's quiet in here. So I like the extra refinements. I wasn't quite expecting that. So that's probably one of the biggest things that stood out to me. And then the power delivery, I mentioned that quite a bit. I was really not knowing what I would expect with this car. I've never driven the Q60, I've never even sat in those cars. So for me, I was expecting this to feel maybe like a Supra, where it has that torque and then falls kind of flatter on the top end. While the Supra's a little bit quicker of a car overall, I kind of like the smoother power plant in the Z. It doesn't hit you down low where it just spins the tires all the time. It'll spin the tires sometimes and maybe chirp a gear change, but it doesn't just roast the tires in first gear to where you can't put the power to the ground. So the fact that we get the twin turbo layout, more horsepower than torque, I think this is going to be a really good car to soup up and modify. You know, same with my GTR, it just pulls even harder in the higher RPM because you have stock more horsepower than torque. So that's something I've noticed and why I don't like turbo 4-cylinders, is they all have way more torque than horsepower and they fall flat on their face. The Supra kind of has that vibe to where it's got the torque but not quite as much horsepower as it needs. And I think the Z, after modifications, I think is really going to just be a smooth drivable power plant. Even if it still is never as fast as the Supra, it might be smoother, which makes it more enjoyable to drive. So we'll see once I modify mine and tune it up, of course, but I really like that aspect with this. That was a little bit of a drift. This car can drift pretty easily. And like I said, that smooth power delivery, it just really does a good job. Yeah, this has been definitely a fun car to play with. I burned almost 2 tanks of gas in this, maybe 300-400 miles. So I think I've definitely had a good amount of fun with the Z. So things that I'm most excited about when I take delivery of mine, I think really is just modifying it to see where it can go. I just love cars. I love taking them to the next level to see where they can go. I'm not one of those people that's a fanboy or a hater on different cars. You know, I have my preferences, of course. I'm not a Mustang fan, really. I probably won't ever buy one. But I like the JDM stuff. I like the sports car, the tuner cars, of course the exotics. But to me, this is just another fun car out there that I'll be able to pick up and make a ton of content with and just experience the car. And it's one of those cars that my first car out of college, you know, I bought a Z. So it's got a lot of value to me, just the brand name. And I want to do everything I've done to the GTR to the Z. I want to do bigger intakes, downpipes, full exhaust, upgrade the injectors, fuel pump, flex fuel system. It'll absolutely need some suspension work for sure. I'll probably start with lowering springs just to kind of get my bearings with it, see if that is a good affordable way to make it better, because I like doing things that anybody can do, anybody can afford. So I want to start small and do the basic upgrades, and then of course I'll go coil over to really dial it in to see what that does for the suspension. A lot of people have been commenting saying to do upgraded sway bars. That's probably going to be a pretty big plus to really stiffen it up, because that's one drawback I found with the car. When you're going in a straight line and you just do that, there's just a little bit of body sway, which I'm not used to feeling in a sports car. So I think, the suspension upgrades are going to be nice. And then there's a little bit of cooling upgrades for the charged air. This does have an air-to-water intercooler system, so it'll be interesting to upgrade that system and then see if even air-to-air is a way to go on this car. I'll tune it up, see how much power it can make, of course. And not that it needs too much more power, it's definitely a really fun car. But this is going to be an exciting car to really take to the limits. So that's kind of been a good idea of my take on the car, my experience with it for the week. Luckily, over the weekend, I was able to bring it to 2 different car shows. That was all over Instagram for those of you who follow us on Instagram. So hundreds of people were able to check out this car in person for the first time. So it was a really awesome opportunity to be able to bring this car out. Like I said, pre-production car, these things are not out. So the fact that I could have this at car shows and people could actually see it in person was really cool. Talking with people about the car, they love it. It is a great looking car. It really does stand out, in pictures and video, it just doesn't do it justice, but when you're out in person with the car, it really comes together nicely. And it's been fun. It's been an easy car to drive, I'd say. It's one of those cars you can just kind of sit back and enjoy the car. You don't have to feel like you're uptight in some perfection sports car. This is a car that kind of just takes that step back. It's an affordable, fun sports car. I really can't complain too much for its price point. If this was 60 grand, I'd be a little disappointed. I feel like it's missing a few things, but I think that's what the Nismo is going to be. The Nismo, I'm hoping, is going to be just under 60 grand, and I think that's going to give us every little bit out of this car that some of us may want out of this car, but because this is where it is in price, I think this one makes sense. So Nissan did a good job, I think, just giving you an affordable option, especially compared to the Supra, and can't really go wrong, and really going to be awesome when the Nismo comes out. All right, well, there we go. That is the last drive I will be taking in the all-new 2023 Nissan Z. I hope you guys really enjoyed all 15 of the videos that I made on this new car. Like I said, I think I have a really good perspective on it, being my own history on these cars and the fact that I'm planning to buy one. It's been an awesome opportunity. I really appreciate Nissan having these things out there in fleet to go to people for press cars and things like that. It's been pretty awesome being able to share it, and I hope you all enjoyed every different video. I've really tried to give you the full ownership type of reviews on this car, and it's been a heck of a fun week. So with that said, we're at Mike's house, and he's gonna have it for the rest of the day, and probably sometime tomorrow it's gonna be going back on to the next person. But I hope you guys enjoyed all the Z content and today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for when I can take delivery of my own personal Nissan Z. That's gonna be some fun. But I'll see you guys in the next video.